Pleasant day, everyone. Welcome to our session today. This is brought to you by the Philippine Continuing Professional Development Incorporated. And our topic for today is project planning and execution and strategic communication. So, how are we doing after about 3 years of pandemic time? I miss those days when we had to meet face to face to have this training and appreciate the places that we go. But at this time, this is more virtual. But in a sense, I also appreciate doing this because this is less hassle, less expensive, and I am saving more time as well. All right, but I don't have the opportunity to meet the people face to face, and travel around the places I'd love to go. Anyway, let us enjoy our session for today. I'm pretty sure that some of you might have been doing projects already and executing them, and how important is strategic communication in terms of the delivery of our projects and programs. Okay? Enjoy. I'd like to start with this slide by Dennis Whitley saying, expect the best, plan for the worsts, and prepare to be surprised. As leaders, managers, or administrators, it is very important that we are guided by this quote, maybe, no? So, we expect for the best, but we also at the same time plan for the worst outcome, and then there might be surprises in between. So that is the essence of project planning, no? So we have goals, we have management, of course, for the implementation of the project, and of course there is a plan before doing that, and we also expect for success, or we also expect for failure, and there might be risks along the way as we go through. And then of course, if we want to arrive at a successful implementation of the project, there are certain strategies that we consider, and of course there's also costs and benefit, no, from that. And very important factor in realizing our projects is teamwork. I remember a story about a couple, no, working in our brotherhood community, and I would always tell the group that this is a teamwork. I am the team, and my wife does the work. So it's a teamwork. So about that, as leaders and administrators in your respective offices, is it a teamwork? You are the team, and the people are the one working. Alright, so that is not supposed to be, right? So it should be a collaboration of all the members of the team in order to achieve your goals, no? And come up with a quality project. Alright, so before we proceed with the presentation, I'd like you to watch this video. I don't know if you already have watched this video because I used this video before in my sessions, especially on 21st century education, because this is a video of my student in Philippine Science High School, Eastern Visayas campus, who won the Breakthrough Junior Challenge in 2017. Right? So I am really proud of this achievement of the country because we put the Philippines in the map of the world by garnering the grand champion in the Breakthrough Junior Challenge. So it's a short video competition, like a 3-minute video competition, where a difficult concept in science will be delivered by a student, a science communicator, where it is simplified, no? So that the common people will understand the difficult concept, theory. in science. And so our student won $400,000. So can you imagine that? So $250,000 of that goes to her scholarship in MIT. Now she is in MIT, currently taking up physics, and she's also doing very well there. And then the 150 goes to the school and the mentor. So that is why with this award, we are able to establish a DNA molecular laboratory in our school when I was still the director. All right. And for me, I thought it was like the punctuation of my career being a leader going to NASA and delivering a speech, no? To give tribute to our winner from the Philippines. All right. So I'd like you to watch this video.
How many Albert Einsteins and Marie Curies have come and gone unknown because they lacked the ability to describe their own ideas? Sadly, the brightest spark will die if it does not catch. That's why we need not just great scientists, but great communicators who can tell nature's story in a way that grips us. In so doing, they expand their circles of enlightenment to encompass thousands. To introduce you to an incredible young science communicator, please welcome one of the founders of the Breakthrough Prize, Julia Milner, and Golden Globe nominee and author, Lily Collins.
In my advocacy for anti-bullying and self-empowerment causes, I have found that the biggest gift a child can be given is the opportunity to communicate. By having the chance to express themselves, kids not only discover who they are, they can change the entire culture.
We wanted to inspire the next generation with big ideas in math and science. And the people who really know how to talk to kids are kids themselves. That's why 3 years ago, together with Priscilla Chan and with support from Khan Academy, we established the Breakthrough Junior Challenge, a video competition for high school students. The winner this year is a remarkable science communicator.
Now is a very, very great time to live for science, since there are so many unknown questions around the world that need answers. Exactly what number is this? She says it's 6. She says it's 9. So who's right? In my video, one of the recurring themes is how I apply physics to real life. It makes people relate to the concepts on a much deeper level. The really mind-blowing idea here is that observers in different frames will perceive different versions of the same reality. And every observer's frame is equally valid.
Hillary has a really bright future. What makes her special is that she asks questions beyond our lesson. Sometimes she finds the answer by herself. She goes beyond.
I was 14 at the time, in 8th grade. We were really, really surprised when just suddenly the water came crashing down on our windows. Everything broke. We had to rush to the attic. The Pacific Ocean just crashed inside our house and it filled the entire house within about 3 minutes or so.
After the typhoon, everything was gone. So we have to start from scratch. That was tough, having no school facilities at all.
It's a great honor for me to have a lab provided for the school. I get to help people tangibly through this lab, and it feels especially great since it aligns with one of my biggest advocacies to extend science education to others. Once we come to understand physics, we would start to get deeper and deeper into understanding the universe. That's one of the skills that I think would make a better society. People who can think deeper than what it is at face value.
And tonight, we have a surprise for Hillary. He just arrived to celebrate her achievement.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the director of Philippine Science High School, Reynaldo Garcea.
Splendid evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hillary, remember this song? To reach the unreachable star. Truly, you have imbibed in you the vision of the school, a passion for excellence, pursuit of truth, and service to the nation. I congratulate you and your family for this feat. We're all in this together. Your dream is now a reality. Let your star shine and be the best scientist and expert that you can be. Salamat po at magandang gabi.
For her short film, Relativity and the Equivalence of Reference Frames,
The winner of the 2017 Breakthrough Junior Challenge is Hillary Andales.
I've always looked up to two kinds of stars, those that shine at night, enchanting my mind about the universe, and those that shine before me now, these amazing scientists, inspiring me with their genius and tenacity to pursue the truth. I'm grateful that this award has allowed me to become a rising star with even bigger dreams. May this inspire more young people, especially my dear Filipinos, to look up and become scientists themselves, the stars that we all should look up to. Thank you to all those who supported me throughout this journey. Maraming salamat po.
And so let me show you the sneak peek of Breakthrough Junior Challenge. As I said, I was like in cloud 9 in that event in NASA, California, because I was seated with the scientists, renowned scientists in the world, and even artists. So it was like a Grammy Awards for music, no? Or it was like an Oscar Awards for artists. So because the experts in science were present and recognized in that awarding ceremony. So in the pictures you see that we had the opportunity to travel around the country and even the world, no? To speak about the Breakthrough Junior Challenge. So we had a picture with the Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology and some experts from the agency. And if you look at that, I had a chance to stand beside Julia Milner, who is the wife of the owner of Google, right? Because in the event we had Mark Zuckerberg, no? And then we had the developer also of Khan Academy. And one of the hosts also was Lily Collins, not the daughter of Phil Collins, so she was there. And we had a beso-beso at the backstage, okay? So it was a very exciting and memorable event that I attended. All right, so for our session today, we have the following objectives. By the end of this session, you will have an understanding of how to plan and execute a project, how to manage people and resources, how to connect with the stakeholders, maintain and manage the scope, budget, and timeliness of the project. And of course, very important is communicate projects strategically, right? So it's very important that, before doing the project, we have communication with the people involved, especially from the grassroots. And then when the project is already developed, then in the implementation of the project, it's very important that there is a good communicator so that all the details of the project are taken care of. All right. So before we proceed again, I'd like to give you this first activity. Okay? So you may have your answer sheet for this, and I'll be giving you 15 minutes to cover what is a project and its characteristics, what are the different stages of project planning, why do projects fail, and what are the procedures and the execution of a project. Alright, so maybe it's good if you pause the video before you continue and then come up with your worksheets, because you're supposed to submit them in compliance of your certificate and CPD points. Okay. Alright, so thank you so much for answering the workshop or the activity. So wrapping up what you have answered in your paper, I'm pretty sure that you have religiously answered and all your answers are correct. So when we speak of project, it is a complex, non-routine, one-time effort limited by time, budget, resources, and performance specifications designed to meet customer needs. Okay? Then, what are the major characteristics of a project? It has an established objective. It has a defined lifespan with beginning and an end. It typically requires a cross-organizational participation. It involves doing something that has never been done before. Take note of that. And then it has specific time, costs, and performance requirements. So in other words, what we're saying here is if it has been repeatedly done, we don't consider this a special project for you anymore. So it's something which is unique, something which is new that you can think of. So think of that project that you'd like to do, which is a breakthrough, which has not been done by other people. So it's an aha, it's a eureka. So it's something new that you want to venture in and implement. Okay, so in a nutshell, these are the characteristics of a project. It has a clear start and end date. A project has boundaries, limitations, so what just you can do and what you cannot do. A project creates something new. It's something novel that other people might not have thought of, and then you're doing it. And then a project is not business as usual. So yeah, that's why it's something new. It's not what you do routinely. All right, so I'd like to tell you a little story about my recent experience and implementation of projects. But this one is a special project on human resource development. All right, so in a consortium that we have in the region, it's called Eastern Visayas Regional Health Development Council. I proposed for a project dubbed as Distinguished Health Research Awards and Novice Health Researcher Award. Alright, so it's something new. There is no consortium or organization implementing that in the region. And so we identified the distinguished researchers and novice health researchers in the region. And then we awarded them, I think, sometime in November. Alright, then after that, I also forwarded a proposal to the local government unit of Palo, being the consultant of that project. So the proposal was Meritorious Service Awards. Alright, so the Meritorious Service Awards recognizes all individuals, whether they're still alive or dead. So posthumous awards for all sectors like education, culture and arts, sports, journalism, religious sector, executive level, government posts, non-government organizations, and so on and so forth. So there are like 10 or more, no? 10 or more sectors, and then recognizing both individuals and group sectors. And after our thorough search of the nominees, we were able to come up with 13 awardees, so sometime in December 19. So we had an awarding ceremony. So it's something new, it's something novel, because none of the LGUs has done it, right? And then recently also, I am also an officer of the Region 8 Administrators League, and so I propose for Administrators Honorific Awards. We call it AHA. As I said, there is a plaque and certificate on my back, being a recipient of the award. And it's funny because I was the proponent, I became a nominator, I became a nominee, and I became a recipient myself. So since I was a part of the search committee, so I had to beg off and presented it to the board of directors to decide who would be the top 10 awardees for the AHA. Alright, so it's something new again, because there is no one who has conceptualized it here in our locality. I don't know if it is already happening in your respective regions, but it's something that you can implement. Maybe if you want to ask for the proposal from me, I'd be willing to share with you. All right, so you can just message me or email me. All right, so what I'm sharing is a project which is something novel, something new. Although there are many awarding bodies, but we look into the different aspects where we can create something novel. All right, it's not the business as usual. So these are the reasons why projects fail. So what are your reasons? Maybe they are similar to these reasons, or maybe you have other reasons. So poor project and program management discipline. So it really depends on the head of the agency, how it's being managed. It's very important that you also assign the right persons and you empower them how to implement the project that you craft together. And then lack of executive level support. Very important that the executive, the head, is always there, not necessarily to direct what to do, but maybe just to oversee and then give a pat on the shoulder for a job well done. Then maybe just monitor, ask a few questions about what's going on, but not necessarily being nosy about everything. Okay, then no linkage to the business strategy. So it's very important that there is connection, there is collaboration of all things happening around. And then maybe you might have chosen the team members. So wrong team members might be the reason also why your project is failing. Then no measures for evaluating the success of the project. So there should be rubrics and matrix for you to follow, how you're going to evaluate the project in terms of the goals, in terms of the procedure, in terms of activities being done, in terms of time frame, in terms of budget, in terms of people involved. So there should be gauge of evaluation. And then you also have to expect risks in the implementation of the project, but how are you going to manage those risks if they happen? And then inability to manage change. So it's very common that there might be changes along the way. Like, for example, before the pandemic came, you might have projects ready for implementation, but when pandemic came, everything changed. Therefore, you should have the ability to manage the changes, because it's only change which is inevitable. We say that nothing in this world is permanent but change, right? Okay, so the execution phase will broadly involve the following actions. Okay, what are we going to do? Acquire, develop, and manage the team who will work on the project is very important. So they have to be capacitated what to do. They are guided of their specific roles, so there will be no overlapping of responsibilities. And then just execute the project scope. But of course, there should always be flexibility, no? It depends on the actual situation, how you can make changes. That's why we say recommend changes, bug fixes, preventive and corrective actions coming from planning, executing, and monitoring and controlling process groups. So, in other words, it's really very important that the 4 C's are being implemented here. Number one is communication, critical thinking, or creative thinking, and then collaboration. So the core 4 C's of 21st century working is very important in this also. Timely communication with all stakeholders. It's very important to involve the people, update them of their current situation. Implemented, approved changes to the processes, documentation of plans, and then there should be team building exercises because it's hard to be working with people whom you cannot relate with, you're not so familiar with. And then hold status review meetings to ensure project is on track. Okay, and their deviations are attended at the earliest times if there are changes. So these are attended to, and then the head is also updated about the changes so that there is an immediate action. And then use work authorization systems to allocate work. Yeah, so authorizing people if one cannot do it, so there should be other people who would be able to implement it. Then request seller responses to your tender and outsourcing. It's very important that there should be responses from the beneficiaries or from the stakeholders working with you. And then if we need a seller for procurement, if we talk about procurement, so we choose the right seller, non-provider. Okay. So what are included in the project execution process? So if you're going to show this chain, we start with execution kickoff. So once the project is crafted now, then we kick off the implementation of the project. Of course, there is a project team working on that, and at the course of the implementation, execution, we continue to develop the project team and then executing the project management plan. So when the team has been totally developed, so that's the time that the project management plan is being executed. And then at the course of the implementation, there should be status review meetings conducted. That is very important. No? So maybe it depends. It can be weekly, it can be twice a month, it can be monthly or bi-monthly. It depends on the project that you're implementing. But it would not stop you also to call for an urgent meeting if the needs arises. And then after that would be update projects schedule of management plan. So if ever there might be few changes, then there should be updates, no? And then at the course of the implementation, make sure that there is quality assurance. Okay, there is looking into the check and balance, no? And then after that would be the acceptance of deliverables. So that means you are done with the project, and so you have delivered the expected outputs. And then the last phase would be complete execution phase review. So that means you're going to conduct a study about how the implementation of the project went through. Then you have your complete phase review of the study. Okay? So this is how the cycle looks like, no? From what I mentioned earlier. So those are the people working behind. Alright, so what does execution phase produce? Okay, number one item there is project deliverables. So it depends on the project whether it's a concrete output or it's just a document, okay, or there's really an implementation phase for that. So maybe if we talk about infrastructure, so there should really be project deliverables. So and then the project deliverables should be tested, accepted, and approved. That's why there is a retention of 10% for the project, so that that would answer sometimes if there are deficiencies, there are problems with the implementation of the project, so that can be used. And then there is also a checklist of all the items being done, if they're acceptable or not. That's why in the statement of work, accomplishment, in the SOA, so it will determine what is the percentage of the completion vis-a-vis the amount that should be given. So all the documents needed are attached to that to ensure that it is really done, no? It is acceptable and it is approved by the persons concerned. All right? And then very important also is the change management document. So if there would be variation orders like that, so there should be changes of the documents, because at the course of the implementation of the project, so you see that there are things that you need to change because these were not foreseen, no, in the preparation stage, because there can really be changes in the actual implementation and they require change management documents. Okay, next is measurement of project activities. That's what I'm saying. So against the plan and then the performance baseline. So what is the current result, no, from the implementation, and then identification of what needs to be done. So what else should be done to keep the project on track? So we really make sure that we are following the schedules on time, no, project, especially if it's infrastructure, because it has to be finished within the year, otherwise the funding might be diverted to the government, no? Okay, so but if there are extensions, for example, we make sure also that it is within the scope, no, of time that we can still use of the fund. Okay, so these are examples of the project deliverables. What are we going to consider? There should be emailing, no, to give information. There should be updates, no. Being the administrator, for example, of the university, so and make sure that there is close collaboration with the planning, engineering team, physical plant and facilities. We have the contractor itself, no, and the people working for the construction. And of course, you have to bridge between the implementation and then the administration or the management to the vice president and the president. So everything is delivered, and also they're updated about management change of documents. Now, so there should be links, there should be features, contents, if there are requests for variations, for changes. So everything is in place, everything is well taken care of. In the project execution plan, so this is the cycle that we look into, no? So number one is there should be a mission statement. So what is it? That would guide you in the implementation of the project. What is your mission or vision? And then what is the scope of the project that you are doing? And then what is your risk identification and mitigation, so possible? Then what are the project controls that you consider? Then the resource planning, the project execution approach, and then the design plan, the procurement strategy, the construction plan, and then the commissioning and validation plan. So these are the items that you need to consider in the project execution plan. So recently, I'd like to share with you my experience with the RIAL, the Region 8 Administrators League. We had a project, Community Pen Tray. So the Community Pen Tray is composed of a tablet and then school supplies in a tray. That's why it's called pen tray, to represent education. So we identify the poorest of the poor students from the whole region. Every division had one representative, one beneficiary. So we had 13 recipients from the community pen tray coming from all 13 divisions of the region. So our mission was to support the junior high school students in their virtual learning, okay, so that they can use the tablets and school supplies, no, in terms of blended instruction, both virtual and modular instruction. So that's the scope. And then we cover only 13 because that's the only budget that we have, but we also allocated allowance or incentive of 5,000 pesos for their travel and accommodation, but we also provided them hotel accommodation during the awarding to the beneficiaries. So risk ID and mitigation, so especially that some of the places in Region 8 were hit by Odette, badly hit by the Odette, especially in Southern Leyte. So we made sure also that the schools division superintendent took care of identifying and then ferrying the beneficiaries during our recipients 9. And then the project controls also involve that. So because there might be biases in the selection process, so we made sure that we set certain criteria so that those who would benefit from that would be really the right persons, no? And then the resource planning, so we had our budget allocated from our funds from RIAL, and then we connected also with this WD, because good thing our regional director is also part of RIAL. So in the resource planning, so this WD contributed for the incentives of our recipients. And then project execution approach, so there were committees assigned in terms of identification, in terms of purchasing also of the items needed, and then packing them up to the travels and accommodation of the recipients, no? So that's based on the design plan. And then the procurement strategy, we connected with the enterprises, establishments that would provide us in a very short span of time even. And then that includes the construction plan, and then commissioning of people involved, and the validation plan. Then we were able to accomplish our project, which was community pen tray. Very simple, but the process is really tedious. Even from identifying the recipients is already very tedious, no? So bringing them to the city, and it's like some of them would travel for about 5 to 6 hours before they reach the city, and then they're just there to receive their rewards, okay, the pen tray, but they're accommodated and they're also given transportation home. So it makes it easier. So we have to look into the nitty-gritty of things so that we make sure that everything is well attended to. All right? So understand why you are here. So as part of optimizing your execution, you must perform activities, certain key activities. So these are the things that you need to manage. Okay? Time management, cost management, quality management, the change management, the risk management, the procurement management, the acceptance management, the stakeholders engagement, and the communication management. So based on my sharing community pen tray, so on the day before the awarding, I actually asked the chairman of the committee, uh, and then I asked if he is ready with the supplies, only to realize that he was not ready with the procurement. And so, because he thought that one from the secretariat was assigned to work on it, unfortunately, that person said that I am not delegated. And so, right at that very moment, somebody picked up and said that, okay, I'm going to do the purchase of all this. So it's a good thing that there is a very fast technology this time, especially calls and messengers, and group chat is born. And so the procurement management became feasible. Huh? And lo and behold, hours before our awarding ceremony, we were able to accomplish. Even though the tablets were not readily available, so there was a member of the board who said that I have tablets that I can lend, but be sure just to replace them. But good thing, the tablets we ordered for that very moment arrived. And so the implementation was a huge success. So out of the 13 beneficiaries, 12 arrived because the other one was really badly hit by Typhoon Odette. So the recipient was not able to arrive. But overall, we were able to comply with this, time, cost, quality, change, risk procurement, acceptance, stakeholder, and communication management. We were able to accomplish that. So taking a look at this cartoon on strategic management. So here's your buzzword bingo card for the meeting. So it's the subordinate saying to the boss, if the boss uses a buzzword on your card, you check it off. The objective is to fill a row. You're all very attentive today. My proactive leadership must be working. Bingo, sir. Nice, no? So be sure that what it is that you need to deliver should be communicated during the meeting, because sometimes also the boss is not fully aware of what's happening at the ground. So maybe as part of the committee, your role is to inform your boss about what's happening on the ground, so that the boss would not be caught barehanded, speechless, because he is not updated of what's going on. You might have your own communication plan when you implement a project, but here's a sample that I'd like to share with you. So the stakeholder, this person or group, so what's the information required, and then from whom, the schedule of delivery, and then the means of delivery, the format, and then the start date, the end date, and the comments, no? So stakeholder, for example, is the project sponsor, and then information required is the status report, and then from whom is coming from the project manager. The schedule is bi-weekly, and then the means of delivery, especially at this time, is through email, and then the format is a report format, and starting date is January 15, then the end date is July. And then the comments would be summary of accomplishments of these periods, plans for next period, issues, barriers, and overall project status to be reported. So that's the sample of communication plan that can be given. So for me, one of the effective ways at this time to make sure that there is effective communication scheme is really a group chat. So the updating of what all the members of the committees would do can be delivered through the group chat. Alright, so we proceed with activity 2. Kindly, again, work on your sheets. This will be part of the submitted outputs of our session. So the questions are, what are your best practices as an administrator or leader in your agency? How did you achieve your vision, mission, goals? What problems did you encounter along the way? So if you are a strategic leader or a visionary leader, you don't only stick with what is your vision, mission, and goal, but you also go beyond, no? From that. What else can you do? Not just the standard routines that you do in your office of, signing the documents, the usual activities that you do. Maybe you have to think of what else can I do? What else can I contribute to the society? Okay, that's why I'm asking you of your best practices as administrator or leader in your agency. So because it's not just all about what you have done in terms of routinary work, but something which is a eureka, something which is unique that you have done. All right, so I'll be giving you 15 to 30 minutes again to finish this activity, and then that will be a compilation of your outputs. So these are some of the best practices that I'd like to share with you. No? So when I assumed office as the director of the school for sometime in 2012, no? And for 6 years I was the director of the school. So the first thing I did was communicate the vision, mission, and goals. Other than the vision, mission, and goal of the school, I created my own vision, mission, and goal, but aligned to the VMG of the school. And then, of course, in the process, solicit opinions how to deliver them. And then I allow creativity and critical thinking among the people. So it's up for them to pick up what they want to do from the VMGs that I have given them. And then empower the people to propose programs and projects to achieve the VMG. So I ask them to craft proposals, what they'd like to do. And then a typical example for this is one of the faculty members who actually was my wife crafted a proposal, a learning support program. So maybe I could tell you more about this later on, how we were able to revolutionize the performance of the students because of the special programs and projects done by the employees or specifically the teachers. And then my best practice also was to improve the state-of-the-art infrastructures and facilities of the school. And then I conceptualized projects and programs like, what I've said, learning support program, organization of varsity players, outreach projects to elementary and secondary schools, and then exchange programs here and abroad. And one of the best strategies also or practice that I implemented was Toast for Excellence, rewarding the students and employees. In fact, we had an annual Toast for Excellence where all the students and their parents are gathered and they're recognized for their exemplary achievements. Okay, so zeroing in onto the projects and programs, as I said earlier, the learning support program. So it's a program of students who are high performing, those who are directors, listers, we call, because their average is 1.50 and above. They would tutor, it's like a peer tutoring program, those who are not performing so well. So in the implementation of the infrastructure, since we were only given, I guess, 60 million instead of 80 million for a building. So what I did was I made the ground floor hollow. It's a huge open space for the students, and it was the place of the students for their learning support program. So I'd be glad to see them sitting side by side, working on assignments, tutoring, and then they were provided with snacks. And so they were very happy doing it. And I really saw the improvement of the students. Okay, and then organization of varsity players, certain groups came to my office and asked permission if they'd be allowed to organize varsity teams for basketball men, basketball women, volleyball men, volleyball women, and if they could compete outside. Knowing that the school is Philippine Science High School, I said, it's a bit hard, but let us see how it works. So I just challenged them that I would only allow you to join the team if you don't have a grade lower than 2.75. Lo and behold, majority of them were even directors, listers, and they strive hard, no, to perform so well because they don't want to be out from the varsity teams. And so they were competing outside at the same time, doing their academics very well. Yeah, and also our way of enticing incoming first year students or grade 7 students. So we had outreach projects to elementary schools and also to entice them also to enter the University of the Philippines. We had also enhancement programs in partnership with the Department of Science and Technology because they will be accorded scholarships for their college education. Okay. So that's what I love Pisay because when I entered Pisay in 2012, and since I was a teacher in Pisay from 1997 to 2008, I knew how difficult the experience was among the students. So they did not love Pisay, they hated Pisay for the so many requirements that they comply and the so difficult exams that they take every day. So it's like they're always loaded, going to school. And so the first thing I did was to put a standee at the entrance of the gate, I love Pisay, so that when they enter, oh, I love Pisay. And I also put another standee at the exit, I love Pisay, so that entrance and exit, they still love Pisay, so they imbibe in their hearts that they love Pisay. In fact, I had a selfie competition. I guess the prize was 10,000 for the first place, 7,500 and 5,000. They would post and then they would share their posts in their social networks. So the more hearts, the more likes would be given the reward. So many of the scholars participated and I was so happy. They shared their posts in the social networks and that was the start of expressing in them that they love Pisay. Okay? So I had this 10-point agenda when I entered the school. So if you are leaders also in your respective schools or agencies, you might have also your own agenda. But for me, I had this agenda which I communicated to the people. I said, number one is I would like to promote professionalism. I'd like to encourage everyone to enroll in graduate school programs so that you can also be promoted. Because in Pisay, the promotion is really fast and it's just not one step, it's 3 steps higher. So the entry level is for faculty is salary grade 13, and then the next is salary grade 16, 19, and so on and so forth. So it's very fast for as long as you are done with your master's degree program. So there was even a time that we waived that because there was a need to promote those teachers who've been staying in the school for so long a time, and then we just changed it because of the changing time. Yeah, it's very important that we also learn to be flexible. Okay, then part also of professionalism is also sharing, professional sharing. So I would encourage the teachers to participate in trainings here and abroad, and then when they go back, we had quarterly professional sharing. So all those who attended seminars, workshops would be sharing their experience with others, so that it's not limited only to those who were given the opportunity to attend. Then I also promoted international linkages. So by the time that Yolanda hit Tacloban, so I had many visitors from all over the world, and they asked what can they offer, and immediately I said that we would like to have exchange programs with you for both students and teachers. And so many of our students were able to visit their schools in other countries. Specifically, we linked with Ritsumeikan University. They have many schools in Japan, and then we also linked with Kavis Media Science Academy in Thailand, and then we had also many programs with the American Field Service International Exchange programs, no? So we were able to send so many students in all parts of the world for immersion, research-related activities, competitions, trainings, and so on and so forth. Also teachers. In fact, we also hosted teachers from other countries to have an exchange program. So we send our teachers abroad, and then they also send our teachers to our campus, and we field them also to different campuses in the country. So that's how strong our international linkages were. And then of course, because it's a science school, there should always be SMT promotion. So we have Olympiad, we partner with the Department of Education, and so we reach out also the poor and depressed communities, schools, to come to us, because we also conducted international science fairs and then exhibits, so that our students would share what they have with the less fortunate. Okay, and of course, we always maintain the prestige of academic excellence. You know what? When I assumed office in 2012, our campus was lagging behind in terms of the OPCAT performance, because it's somehow our gauge for the performance, no, the OPCAT, and we ranked last at that time. So when I reflected on why that was so, it's because our grading system, I guess, was very rigid. Maybe our teachers were stricter then, because we were implementing the same mechanisms that the main campus had. And the main campus is supposed to house the top 240 students all over the country, but the regional campus caters to the passers within the region per se. So therefore, they don't have the same level of capabilities. So yeah, I looked into that, I reviewed, and then I realized that we were very tough, and maybe there is a need to implement programs. So that's why we entered the Student Learning Support Program, and then the varsity team and other activities, looking into the humanities aspects of the students. And then presto, the students started to perform well, and I challenged them to increase the performance from one step at a time only. But the following year, our students ranked 8 out of 10 in UPCAT instead of 10 out of 10. No? So it continuously improved, 8, 6, then 5th, and number 1 in the Visayas, no, over Iloilo and Cebu, because of their performance. Because once the grades are higher, it will also improve the performance in UPCAT, because 40% is based on the grades and 60% is in the actual examination. So I also encourage the community to improve the directors listers from sometimes 0% to 15%, and then to 30%. Yeah, to 30%. And later on, you know what? We had a batch with 57% honor graduates. Can you imagine that? So more than half of the students are honor graduates. When in fact, before, there were times that there was no honor student in the batch, because we were very rigid. And it doesn't mean that the quality of education declined. No. With that performance of our students, that's when we were able to garner international awards, because they were so excited to participate, and they were doing very well in international competitions, winning international awards in robotics, informatics, research, Olympiads, and even the Breakthrough Junior Challenge. So I would say that was the highest award that the campus received ever, and the country received ever, in terms of education among our students. Okay, and then for why, it's a youth empowerment. So I made sure that the kids were really empowered to do their roles, because PSI aims to develop leaders from among our students, not only scientists but also leaders. That's why many of our activities are taken care of by the students. So they are the ones implementing even sports fest, for example. So they compose the sports council. So all the activities of the schools are handled by clubs, by organizations, handled by the students themselves. So it seems like the teachers have nothing to do anymore because the students are there to implement the projects. And as I always say, it's like they perform more than what we expect from them. Yeah, that's how our students are. And then for cares, then yes, the curriculum. So we continue to have studies, action, research, and service about the implementation of the curriculum. So how is it aligned? Of course, we have a system-wide curriculum that we implement, but there might be little changes. So I remember when I was still a teacher, our curriculum in English was a bit difficult because the literary pieces used had something to do with science as well. So, and our materials were taken from different resources, and I had difficulty locating the references. So, you know what I did? I compiled all the materials needed, and then I asked my students to help me in the project implementation. And then we were able to come up with a book, no? So the book that I developed then was, I'd like to show you this. It's Asian African Literature, okay, in English. It's an anthology. Why is it anthology? Because it's a collection of all the materials that we have. No? So this is in support of the curriculum. So when I was able to make this, I had no more problem in my lesson because I had my book. The students, every student had a copy of the book as reference. So I designed the topic every lesson following the format of the lesson plan. When there is motivation, there is discussion, there is comprehension question, there are activities, and there is an assessment part of the story. You know, like if, for example, the lesson is dead stars, so it's really something about science, no? Dead Stars by Paz Marquez Benitez. So before presenting the lesson, so there is a motivation that I used, okay, and then after that would be the background of the author, for example, and then presentation now of the literary piece, and then there are comprehension questions being asked, and then there are activities being done after the lesson. So there is a study guide for you. So yeah, so this is one that I developed because it's needed in the curriculum to support the curriculum. And then later on, I also developed this book on global English for Filipinos because I found out that the materials I was using made me lazy and made the students lazy because everything was already there. So sometimes I would not even go to my class. I would just ask them to open their books to pages 15 to 20 and then answer everything, and then I will come back to collect the responses. That's how it goes, right? So maybe you could remember in your classes. And also I developed this together with a team. I was part of the team, no? I learned science. So this is an activity based for grade 7 and for grade 8. So here I am the editor, but for grade 8 I am also a part of the authors for specifically for biology. But this is an integration of all the sciences. So all these are products of what's there in the curriculum that you can supplement. Okay. So and then the next is assessment. We made sure that our students would take the Scholastic Assessment Test because some of them would apply for entry to universities in the world. And so the SAT is required. And then the school was even funding for the expenses for the SAT. And then we have the TIMS, the PSAT, the APCAT, and the NCE. So we made sure that our students would take, so we can gauge how are they performing. And so the system, the PSI system, is also looking into the performance of each campus in terms of these types of examination. So we can also gauge how to improve. Then of course, we have a very strong research program. As I said, we organize international research conference. So it's a requirement for the senior high school students to come up with a full-blown research. So even from grade 7, they start working on action researches and then simple researches, and they are required to have an oral presentation. Some of them have publications as early as high school students. Some of them travel around the world to present the paper at a very young. And of course, it's also very important that some of them are able to develop researches for project pitching, implementation, and policy making. Yeah. So that's how strong the research program of the school. And then, of course, environmental protection. So we adapted a community where we implement that. We partnered with Tropical Rainforest Foundation for environmental protection. And then it's embedded also in the curriculum. In fact, many of their studies are about environmental protection. And then lastly, on PSI Cares is being service-oriented. That's why it's a part of the mantra of our teachers to always share. So we regularly conduct trainings for teachers from DepEd or even private institutions. So we host trainings, or our teachers would really go there. Also, our students would conduct activities to invite students coming from DepEd or private schools, and then from elementary schools. So they come to school. We hold fora, exhibits, Olympiads, research congress, okay, so that we have community fairs so that the students will be able to participate, no? And witness, entice them the love of science. And I can proudly say that I am able to achieve all this agenda in the last 6 years that I was in the campus. It's also very important in your effective communication to come up with deliverables. And this is one of the deliverables. This is an annual report. So I was able to develop every year an annual report starting 2013 until I ended my term in 2018. No? So we have all the annual reports because it details everything that the school has done for the whole year. So everything is in there at a glance, so you would see what the school has been doing, has achieved for the last year. And then one method also of communicating is the publication, the newspapers that we regularly release. And when I became a teacher in PSI, I became the advisor of the publication. In fact, the ScienceNet is a part of my concept together with my co-advisor then. And then we also had the Anpukot, the Filipino version. So we had a very strong publication, and in there we had international awards in research, robotics, informatics, Olympiads, breakthrough. And the newspaper is your communicator, the voice, no? That would tell about what you have been doing for this year, for example. And parity aside, our school paper won national awards, no, as the best school paper in the country in several national press conferences. Okay. Then so we develop international linkages and exchange programs. That's the Anpukot. It's also a nationally acclaimed publication. Then we have PSH's EVC as world class. And the staff wrote about me, the director at the forefront, the Garnasi era, 4 years in Pisay. So after my 4 years work, because the campus was really badly affected by Typhoon Yolanda. Initially, I already told you about my assumption of office in PSH's EVC sometime in 2012 as the director. So the school was gloomy. My priority projects then were the completion of the gymnasium, the repainting of all the buildings, and site development, because I said that, a beauty is a thing forever, and colors bring life, to the people. And so those were my projects, and that's how beautiful the gym was. All right. After 1 year, the school stood proud and beautiful, and some teachers or employees or students would come to me or message me that, "Sir, we are happy that the school is now colorful and beautiful, and we are excited to come to school every day." Until Yolanda hit Eastern Visayas in 2013, and the school was totally damaged. So this is the picture of the havoc brought about by Yolanda, and the school was not spared. Look at the damage it has done. And then we had evacuees of about 3,000 people. It was like a second Yolanda, because you cannot really control the people. That was the first experience that we had. But I organized them into different subcommittees, and all the officials from the barangay were also helping me out in the implementation, so that we would be able to control and lessen the damages and the risks brought about by the evacuees to the campus. So in fact, I organized them, they kept the debris, and then I asked them to bring the debris to the respective communities to start rebuilding their homes. So they stayed in the campus for 1 month, and then we had 1 month also restoration of the campus. After that, our classes were back after about 2 months, no? And one of the strategies that we had was to send, those who were willing to continue their study in the other campuses of the Pisay system. So many of them went to the main campus, and they were accommodated. Almost about 50% of our students stayed there. But during our resumption of class after 2 months, some of them went back, but some really stayed. But we had our graduation for all our students. That was really a very tough moment. It was really a test of my leadership skills. So you could just imagine what we were going through and how we were able to survive. So after 1 month, so we had started to roof our buildings on our road to recovery. So that's the picture. And then we also developed the landscape to bring back the beauty, and we put colors and lights, so the campus became like a hotel, a resort, where people would come and drop by and take picture, and they would message me that they're happy that the school is reminding the people that there is light, there is hope, there is recovery, and I label it as rise and shine. All right, so that's only 2 months after Yolanda. And we had an old bus supposed to be for relief already to discard, but I decided to make it a Yolanda museum. So we set it up like a museum. So inside we put up a TV, and then we had memorabilia about Yolanda. And so when we had guests, so they would visit the school bus and feel the history of Yolanda. So this is the picture now of the Eastern Visayas campus. So we have, I had the opportunity to improve the structure into world-class and state-of-the-art because of the damage brought by Yolanda. As we say, in every calamity, there is an opportunity. So that's a picture now of the administration building. This is the academic building. This is the dormitory, academic building, sorry, it's academic building. And this one is the new academic building also, which I was saying there is an open space, a lounge for the students. Then we have here the dormitories, the boys dormitory, the girls dormitory, and we have a new annex dormitory which is fully furnished and fully air conditioned. And look at the hallway. It's an open space for the vehicle to traverse to the other building. Because I promoted also linkages, networks, and then open spaces, and then bridges. So I connected the buildings with the bridges. So this is the multi-purpose gym. It's rubberized. It's beautiful. They are painted. The walls are painted so well, and the paintings there actually are the heroes of the country, not the dancers. Okay, so there was a little variation, flexibility. That's how beautiful the gym is. And then, yeah, we erected the laboratory and technology building. We call it a Center for Research in Science and Technology, or CREST. This is where we house our DNA molecular laboratory. And we have all the laboratories for all sciences. And we also have a fabrication laboratory. If you see this bridge connects now to the academic building. So interconnectivity is being observed in the whole campus. We have also our canteen and the crests and the learning resource center. So even our canteen is already world class. We put chandelier there, and then we put beautiful landscape. And then this one is the latest, the Learning Resource Center, where it's like a multi-purpose media center, library. Everything is there, and it's really, really beautiful. There's small conference rooms, and there's also big room, and it can also be used as classrooms for the senior high. So because when the senior high school came, with the change of landscape of the Philippines in the K-12, so I also prepared for that. So we have like 2 campuses already for the junior high school and for the senior high school campus. So I envisioned the campus to be that, So there is a junior high school campus and a senior high school campus. In fact, I had separate gates for them. Yeah, so that's a picture of PSH's EBC at this time. It's also thematic, so we blended the color into one of all the buildings. So my dream then was to be world-class, state-of-the-art school. So these are the faces of our students when they had a shoot with the Breakthrough Junior Challenge as they celebrated the win of Villarida and Dallas. Yeah. After my 6-year term, I decided to move to the university, and I would say that I'm also instrumental in the implementation of the major projects of the previous president. So these are the projects that we have implemented: the administration building, and then we have here the academic building, which is like an arena, European concept. And even the Mangunbangon River Park, we established it. And we are also working now on the hotel, Crescentia, a laboratory hotel for our students. And then we have our very, very historical, beautiful auditorium, which is already done. So you would see a lot of improvements also in the university. And I also collaborated with the local government unit in the province and spearheaded the donation of a 5-hectare lot for a new campus in another area. And this is the concept of the campus. This is the main academic building. We have there the research and laboratory buildings at the back. So the main building has already everything in it. The laboratories, the gymnasium at the back, and then the dormitories also at the back. So this is supposed to be a 5-year project. So let us see how it goes in the next 5 years. Okay, are we good? So this has always been my schema that I believe in. Plan, very important. When you assume position in a certain office, you should always have a plan. And the plan should not only be yours, it should be communicated properly to the people involved. Okay, there should be strategic planning before you're able to come up with your plan. And then in the plan, you have to do it. So it's a PDCA cycle. Do what is in the plan, but in the process of implementation, there should be proper checking because not everything that you have in the plan can be implemented. There might be a lot of changes, adjustments. There should be a room for flexibility if there are things to be improved. And by there, in the checking process, you would know that there are many things that you have to vary. So there should be variation, changes. And so you act on what is it that you need to implement, revise, okay, communicate, and so on and so forth. And because it's a cycle, you have to plan again, do again, check again, and act again. So that's the cycle in a project management. And I can humbly say that in all the projects that I have implemented, I go through the PDCA cycle. So what about you? Our next activity, which is the last activity, the share the project program we have done. What is it? What are your agenda when you become a head or an administrator? Can you say you have succeeded in your plans and projects? Why or why not? Alright, so you'll be given again 30 minutes to do the activity. So you compile all the activities given and then you will submit them to PCPD for validation. So you'll be given your certificate and your CPD points. I'm sorry. At this note, I'd like to end my session with this quote from Walt Disney. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. I'm pretty sure that you have all your dreams, but I'm not too sure if you have courage to pursue them. And from now on, try to achieve what you're dreaming for. At your humble service, Reynaldo B. Garnase. Thank you, everyone.